All right, let's talk about one of the biggest headaches in the cloud, the bill. It just seems to go up, right? Well, today we're jumping into AWS to look at two key tools, Budgets and Cost Explorer. We're going to figure out how they can help you stop reacting to your bill and start actually controlling it. Let's get to it.
So why is this such a big deal? Well, a recent report from Flexera found that a whopping 84% of leaders say cloud cost management is their #1 challenge. Get this, it's a bigger concern for them than cloud security. This isn't just some small issue. For most companies out there, this is the problem.
So that really brings us to the main question, doesn't it? You see that cloud bill creeping up, maybe you even get a nasty surprise at the end of the month. What do you do? What's the game plan? How do you go from being surprised by an invoice to proactively managing every dollar? That's exactly what we're going to break down. Okay, so here's how we'll tackle this. First, we'll introduce the main tools. Then we'll do a deep dive into AWS Budgets for proactive control, and then Cost Explorer for deep analysis. After that, and this is the important part, we'll show you how they work together. We'll wrap it all up with a quick look at the bigger picture, the FinOps mindset. So let's meet our two main players here. The best way to think about them isn't which one is better, but to see them as specialists with totally different jobs. I like to call them the guardrail and the detective. And this slide right here, it perfectly captures that difference. Think of AWS Budgets as your proactive guardrail. You set it up to keep you safely on the road and prevent you from going over your spending limits. Cost Explorer, on the other hand, is the detective you bring in after the fact to figure out what happened, who did it, and why. One prevents the accident, the other investigates it. All right, let's start with the guardrail, AWS Budgets. The name says it all, really. This tool is all about being proactive, about setting the rules of the road before you even turn the key. So at its heart, AWS Budgets is pretty simple. You define a limit that could be in dollars or maybe gigabytes of storage, and it just watches your account for you. It's your early warning system. It's designed to tap you on the shoulder when your actual spend, or even your forecasted spend, is about to hit a line you told it not to cross. And it's not just one big, simple budget for your whole account. You can get really specific. You can set a budget just for your S3 storage usage, or track how well you're utilizing your reserved instances. Now, this is an area where you see some interesting differences. Over in Microsoft Azure, their cost management budgets are great, but AWS offers these more specific types like first savings plans, giving you a bit more granular control on those commitment-based discounts. But okay, this is where the magic really happens. A budget isn't just about sending you a worried email. It can actually do something. When a threshold is breached, it can trigger an action, like automatically applying a restrictive policy to stop new resources from being created. It goes from being a simple notification system to a powerful enforcement engine. And here's a perfect real-world scenario. Let's say you have a development environment. You could set a really aggressive budget action. When it hits 90% of its budget, bam, an IAM policy kicks in and stops anyone from launching new servers. But for your critical production environment, you'd never do that. You just want an alert. And you know, this kind of contextual control is something you see in Azure too. Their budgets can trigger what they call action groups to do things like run a script or shut down a VM. So both platforms give you that similar power to tailor your response.
Okay, let's switch gears and talk about our other tool. If Budgets is the guardrail keeping you safe, Cost Explorer is the detective you call in to solve the mystery. Its whole job is to help you understand the why behind your bill.
You can just think of Cost Explorer as your central command center for all things cost-related. It takes all that boring, raw billing data and turns it into these beautiful, interactive graphs and reports that let you, well, explore where your money is actually going.
And it's built for deep diving. You can look back over a year to spot long-term trends, and you can even forecast forward to help with planning. But the most powerful feature is the ability to slice and dice your data. Ever wonder which specific project tag is driving up costs? Or which AWS service suddenly got more expensive last week? This is the tool you use to find those answers.
A really cool feature within Cost Explorer is anomaly detection. Now, both AWS and Azure have this, but they handle it a little differently. In AWS, you can get super granular. You can set up a monitor to watch for unexpected spikes in just one service, or for a specific project tag. In Azure, the anomaly detection in their cost analysis tool is a bit broader. It works at the subscription level. It's great for catching big, unexpected changes, but AWS gives you a sharper tool to zero in on very specific parts of your spend.
Okay, so we've met our guardrail and we've met our detective. But their real power? It's not in using them separately. It's when you combine them into a single, powerful workflow that takes you all the way from insight to action.
And that workflow is actually pretty simple. It starts with analysis. You're in Cost Explorer, and you see a sudden cost spike. So, step 2 is to identify the cause. You drill down and find out it's a specific project, maybe identified by a tag. Now, you switch tools. You move to control. You create a brand new AWS budget just for that project. And finally, you enforce. You add a budget action, so if this ever happens again, you get an immediate alert, or maybe an automated guardrail just kicks in to stop it. See? From detective work to setting up a new guardrail. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? You don't pick one or the other. You use Cost Explorer to understand what's happening, and then you use that knowledge to set up smarter, more targeted budgets. It becomes this continuous cycle of analyze, control, analyze, control. But let's be real for a second. Having a great guardrail and a smart detective, that's not the whole story. These are just tools. The real goal is to create a cultural shift in how your whole organization thinks about cloud spending, what people call a FinOps mindset. In this table is a great final summary of their different roles. Budgets, that's all about proactive control. It's forward-looking and it's built to take action. Cost Explorer is for reactive analysis. It's backward-looking and it gives you insights. One sets the rules for the future, the other explains the past. So that brings us to the final and maybe the most important question. AWS and other cloud providers give you fantastic tools for visibility and control. But tools don't solve problems. People do. The real challenge is building a culture where cost is everyone's responsibility. You have the detective and the guardrail, but does your team know how to use them? Do your engineers see a budget alert as a personal failure, or do they see it as valuable feedback? That right there is the difference between just having the tools and truly mastering your cloud spend.